I'm Kelda Yoon. It was like a plot right out of a movie. $20 million worth of gold bars stolen out of an airplane hangar at Toronto Pearson Airport. Well, now, a year after the largest gold heist in Canadian history, police say they've made multiple arrests in what was discovered to be an inside job. Ali Chiasson has more on Project 24 Karat.
You're watching $20 million in gold bars getting stolen, and it wasn't all that hard to pull off.
The suspect arrived at Air Canada Cargo driving a 5-ton truck. The suspect was carrying a fraudulent airway bill as he approached the warehouse.
The forged papers were printed at the Air Canada Cargo hangar by an Air Canada employee.
A short time later, a forklift arrived with a container of gold and foreign currency and loaded it into the rear of the suspect's truck. The suspect then drives away.
It wasn't until Brinks Canada arrived later that evening to pick up the bullion that warehouse workers realized the gold was gone, and so Project 24 Karat was launched. First, investigators tracked the truck's path. Soon, they were conducting search warrants, interviewing people, and arresting 5 suspects along the way, including
Parmpal Sidhu, a 54-year-old man from Brampton and an Air Canada employee.
The other Air Canada employee allegedly involved is wanted on a Canada-wide arrest warrant with 2 others. Police say Simranpreet Panesar was the manager of the Air Canada cargo hangar where the gold was stolen from.
He has been known to us since early on in the investigation. He actually led a tour for Peel Regional Police before we knew his involvement.
You're probably expecting to see a pile of gold bricks. I know we were when we got to the press conference, but really the only evidence that remains of this heist at this police warehouse is the truck that was used, and it's completely empty. You see, this isn't about the gold. That was melted down a long time ago. A Toronto jeweler is among the arrested. Police say some of the gold was made into crude bracelets. More than $89,000 worth of those have been recovered by investigators. The rest of the loot was sold, and the money used to purchase and traffic guns. Remember the driver? While allegedly on the run, he was pulled over in Pennsylvania for a traffic violation last September. He was arrested after police discovered 65 guns in his car. They say were destined to be trafficked in Canada.
Those 65 firearms, definitely not in the hands of somebody, saved lives, without a doubt. So it's not just the theft of cargo. This is a dotted line to people's well-being anywhere in this country, wherever those firearms ended up.
While the Swiss bank the gold belonged to considers the case closed, Project 24 Karat continues. Canada-wide arrest warrants are out for 3 more suspects, including the former Air Canada warehouse manager. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Brampton.
If you need to fill up your gas tank, you may want to do it before midnight. Gas prices are expected to go up 14 cents a litre when the clock strikes 12, rising to almost $1.80 a litre across the province. Vanessa Ballantyne joins us live at a gas station near Greenwood and Danforth. And Vanessa, it's been a while since we've seen gas prices that high. How are drivers reacting?
Well, Kelda, as you could see, there's a lineup of cars behind me of people hoping to fill up their tanks before tomorrow's price jump. It's been like this since rush hour when I was last here speaking to commuters about how this change would affect them. Just getting into the gas station was tough enough.
I pulled in here, it was packed like this.
Already been waiting like 10 minutes just trying to fill up my tank, so it's not great for sure.
Think this is expensive? Wait till you see Thursday's prices. Experts predict gas to jump 14 cents overnight, a price drivers were trying to avoid.
I was on my way up here and a friend of mine said, we were talking on the phone, and I'm like, should I get gas today? And she said, yeah, it's been the talk of the office. And I'm like, the talk of the office? How could this possibly be so?
This expert says the answer is more complicated than people might think.
It's the perfect trifecta. Tensions in the Middle East, the carbon tax increase, and the switchover, which happens semi-annually from winter to summer gasoline.
A liter of gas is expected to hit $1.79, the highest it's been since August 2022.
I used to pay $45, $50 to fill up the car. Now it costs me $80, $85.
That's not the only thing that has gone up. Add in other pressures like inflation and high grocery prices.
It's ridiculous to live like this. Not only gas is going up, everything else. So It's a big issue for me.
I think it's not getting any better. No? It's just getting worse every day.
My monthly expenses are just going to grow, and they've already been growing between grocery prices and rent prices. So it's just not great. It's kind of unsustainable living here right now.
Some drivers are hopeful that the price hike will push residents towards other modes of transportation.
I secretly hope that people take more public transit, and it's a good sign for us to actually be more responsible and respectful about taking more transit.
Part of me is a fan. Hopefully it might push some people who drive too much maybe to drive a little bit less.
But in the meantime, drivers think elected officials need to do more.
I really think that the government needs to kind of come in and help us out.
Hey, the government, they are a big thief, so there's not much we can do, huh?
Kelda, we reached out to the province and they say they've done their part by extending the gas tax cut until the end of the year. They want the feds to cut the carbon tax program, but they say that they stand by the program. Back to you.
Yeah, I know I'll be filling up after the show tonight. Thanks so much, Vanessa. That's our Vanessa Valentik live for us tonight. Well, preparations are now underway in Maple Leaf Square with playoff tailgate parties returning. The Leafs and Bruins will meet again in the first round of the NHL postseason. Now, the storied rivalry includes that heartbreaking Game 7 collapse by the Leafs, we all remember, in 2013. Toronto hasn't beaten Boston in the playoffs since 1959. Meantime, Austin Matthews had one last chance to reach the 70-goal mark tonight in the final game of the regular season. Now, he couldn't do it, though, remaining just one goal shy of the milestone that hasn't been reached in almost 30 years. Toronto Raptors player Jontay Porter has been handed a lifetime ban by the NBA. It's a rare move and comes after an investigation into gambling allegations. The league found that Porter violated a number of rules concerning betting, including sharing sensitive information to bettors. Jamie Strachan has those details.
Jontay Porter has thrown away his NBA career, banned for life. The league says he bet on NBA games, including games involving the Raptors.
You don't want this for our team, and we don't want this for our league. That's for sure. My first reaction is obviously surprise because none of us, I don't think anybody saw anything like this coming.
A league investigation revealed Porter tipped off bettors about confidential information and limited his play for betting purposes. The NBA also says Porter made thousands of dollars betting on at least 13 NBA games, including a bet on the Raptors to lose. He didn't play in any of those games. In a statement, Commissioner Adam Silver said Porter's actions compromised the league's integrity, which is why Jontay Porter's blatant violations of our game rules are being met with the most severe punishment.
There is gambling commercials and all that stuff that's going on with the league right now, but they cannot stand for someone who's betting on the games themselves. It's just a no-no.
Doesn't go. Porter bats it in with a left hand. And
it was a suspicious bet involving Porter that cued this investigation. A gambler made an $80,000 bet that would pay out up to $1 million if Porter didn't achieve a certain number of points, rebounds, and assists. Porter played 3 minutes in that game before pulling himself out with an illness. The bet was not paid out and was reported.
I mean, the sportsbook might have chose not to take that bet previously, but they wouldn't have to report it to the league. There would be no additional actions that were taken, but because of regulated gaming, this was able to be caught.
The NBA was the first major U.S. league to advocate for legalized and regulated betting, but still acknowledged today there are issues. Porter is the 18th player banned for life by the NBA, the first for gambling.
Welcome back. Closing arguments have wrapped in the trial of Umar Zamir. He's charged with first-degree murder in the death of Toronto police officer Jeffrey Northrup. Zamir's lawyer telling the jury what happened to Northrup in July 2021 was a tragic accident but not criminal. The Crown, though, argues Zamir made a series of deliberate and dangerous maneuvers with his car that led to Northrup's death. Greg Ross has more from the courthouse.
Umar Zamir's defense attorney, Nader Hassan, acknowledged that a tragedy occurred the night Detective Constable Jeffrey Northrup was killed. Hassan calling it a terribly unfortunate accident, but not a criminal act. He painted a picture of a young family who was new to the country out in downtown Toronto to celebrate Canada Day. He described Zamir as a man in his 30s, an accountant who had never been in trouble before. Hassan said that Zamir had the misfortune of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. A little after midnight on July 2, 2021, Zamir, his wife Ida Sheikh, and their then 2-year-old son returned to their car in the parking garage at Nathan Phillips Square. They were approached by 2 plainclothes police officers, Jeffrey Northrup and Lisa Forbes. Hassan said they didn't look or behave like police officers, the defense telling the jury that Zamir and Sheikh thought they were being robbed. Hassan said evidence showed the officers were banging on the car. He said Sheikh was hyperventilating out of fear, their son was crying, and Zamir was scared. Hassan said to the jury, "We can all relate to that feeling of concern and fear when we feel our family is in danger." Hassan told the jury that Zamir attempted to leave, but was boxed in by an unmarked police van driven by 2 other plainclothes officers, pointing out that all of the officers had testified that they had no lawful basis to detain Zamir. Hassan said at every encounter, Mr. Zamir was trying to evade, trying to escape, trying to get away from people. 2 accident reconstruction specialists testified that while reversing, Zamir's BMW sideswiped Northrup, causing him to fall to the ground. They said it's possible that as Zamir pulled forward, he wouldn't have seen Northrup, who would have been in the blind spot created by the hood of his car. The other 3 officers on scene contradicted that evidence, all saying they saw Northrup standing in the laneway in front of Zamir's car with his hands raised. Hassan called the 3 other officers who testified liars. He said their version of events was not only contrary to testimony of other witnesses, it didn't line up with the physical evidence from the scene, pointing to this security video that shows Zamir's car driving away and Northrup can't be seen standing in the laneway. During the Crown's closing, attorney Karen Simoni told the jury that the officers weren't lying, they were mistaken to the exact location of where Northrup was hit. Simoni told the jury that while the Crown agrees with the accident reconstruction specialists that Northrup was sideswiped by Zamir's car, they don't believe it caused him to fall. Instead, they say he stumbled into the path of the vehicle. They say it all happened out of view of this security camera. Simoni saying that Zamir drove directly at Northrup, causing him to first fall onto the hood of the car before falling to the ground. She said Zamir then continued driving over top of him. The Crown refuting testimony from Zamir and Sheikh that they didn't know they had run over a person and that they only felt something similar to a speed bump. Simoni said Detective Constable Northrup is not a speed bump, he's a person. She described the way the car struggled to get over Northrup. She said they would have heard loud thumping sounds as his body rolled under the car. Simoni told the jury that if they believed the Crown's version of events, that Zamir knew Northrup was a police officer, then they should find him guilty of first-degree murder. She also laid out a case for second-degree murder and manslaughter, calling Zamir's actions that night dangerous and deadly. Hassan told the jury there's no reasonable explanation why this loving father would suddenly turn into a killer and run somebody over. The judge has started laying out the charges for the jury. That's expected to continue for several hours tomorrow before they begin their deliberations. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to an update on our top story from last night. As we reported, planned service changes to Up Express trains are now scrapped following public outcry. It's just the latest policy reversal by the Ford government, and the opposition wasted no time bringing it up at Queen's Park today. Lorena Redicott reports.
NDP leader Marit Stiles asked about the sudden U-turn in question period.
Had the minister spoken to a single commuter, he wouldn't have even put this forward.
The planned change would have meant every second Up Express train going directly between Union Station and Pearson, saving 2 minutes, but skipping the Bloor and Weston stops. Commuters from those stations say platforms are packed at rush hour, and less service would have made it worse.
They didn't talk to transit riders. They didn't listen to people. They aren't thinking before they act, and now they're not even apologizing for it. But I think it is a record turnaround even for this government.
It took just 34 hours between the Premier announcing the change.
For those traveling to and from the airport, every second Up Express train will soon be non-stop.
And his transportation minister undoing it via social media.
On Monday, we launched...
In question period, the minister dodged opposition questions, later only saying this.
The intention of the Up Express was to as we said before, provide that service from the airport. And now we have, listened to the riders, listened to the concerns, and we've acted on that.
Two government sources tell me the initial idea came from Metrolinx, not the Ford government. That still doesn't satisfy opposition parties.
Wouldn't take a rocket scientist, because I figured it out, a rocket scientist to figure out that this doesn't make any sense.
This is just the latest flip-flop from this government.
This Ford drives in reverse over and over again on so many issues.
The most high-profile change over plans to open up the Greenbelt to housing.
I made a promise to you that I wouldn't touch the Greenbelt. I broke that promise. And for that, I'm very, very sorry.
Among the other changes, backtracking on the plan to break up Peel Region, scrapping new license plates that couldn't be seen by police at night, and undoing cuts to municipal services.
The most important thing is we're a government that listens.
Opposition parties say that after 6 years in power, the Ford government should be listening first and not have to reverse course. Lorenda Redicop, CBC News, Toronto.
The cost of a parking ticket in Toronto is expected to go up soon, but not quite as much as initially proposed by the city. Municipal Affairs reporter Sean Jeffords has the details.
It's never a pleasant surprise to find a parking ticket waiting for you on your car. But the sting of that fine might not be as bad as feared. City Council is still set to hike rates, but not by as much as previously planned. Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey says an earlier motion to more than double rates ran into trouble with councillors.
There's a little bit of sticker shock with some of my colleagues on just how high some of the fines were raising. So we've gone back and divided them into two categories. One, which is the safety-related ones, things like parking in a bike lane, stopping in an intersection, the things that really impede the safety of pedestrians, cyclists, motorists. And also the other category, which are, parking more than 3 hours, parking overnight, letting your permit expire. So those non-safety, so to speak, offenses have been adjusted to a slightly lower rate.
Many fines hadn't been adjusted in decades. Council was considering hiking them from $30 to $75 earlier this year. But a debate scheduled for last council meeting was postponed as councillors wrestled with the increase. And after more work by staff, many of the violations are now set to increase to $50. The new motion before council would also require staff to revisit the rates every 5 years.
It is long overdue to adjust the rates. We know that they were not providing a deterrent anymore.
This councillor says the city needs to crack down on inconsiderate drivers.
When you look at congestion in the downtown core, a lot of that time is when somebody's parking in the wrong spot during rush hour. It's very frustrating for people when someone stops to pull over and get a coffee and you lose a lane of traffic.
Councillor Paula Fletcher didn't support the initial increase, but will vote for the compromise motion. She says it would have hurt small businesses at a time when many are still recovering from the pandemic.
So for our businesses and our restaurants in particular, I didn't think that we could go from $30 to $75. That was just stupid.
Councillors are set to consider the motion at a session this week. If passed by council, the new rates would go into effect August 1st. Sean Jeffords, CBC News.
You are looking at a live shot of Toronto there. No, you aren't. It is cloudy and rainy, though. Outside, currently sitting at 8 degrees. There we go. That is the live shot of Toronto. And yeah, rainy and cloudy tonight. Let's go to Colette Kennedy with your forecast. And Colette, definitely needed our umbrellas out there.
Yeah, that's right, Kelda. Still dealing with some of these storms. I mean, they were stronger earlier in the day through southwestern Ontario, but we've still got some thunder and lightning that's got to move through and push into eastern Ontario. And then for tomorrow, yeah, the temperatures are going to rebound a little bit, especially in places where we do a bit better in the afternoon and get some sunny breaks developing. However, we will have more rain beyond this, what we're talking about through tonight. More rain to come, and that'll be Thursday night into Friday, and the temperatures will drop back down again. For Saturday, a little bit breezy too. Friday into Saturday, kind of like it's been today. And then Sunday, we level off a little bit. Right now, Sunday's looking like the better day of the weekend. Not that there's anything wrong with Saturday, but I'll walk you through what's to come. So a real departure in the daytime highs from what you see from Windsor, and then as you track to the east. And with the heat and some of that energy from the sun today, that's what's made some of those storms quite a bit stronger. Now, as we get into the later hours of the evening towards midnight, they have been weakening. They continue to pass through into eastern Ontario. We get in between the two on Thursday, and this is where I see, again, maybe more sunny breaks than perhaps we'll get around the Golden Horseshoe, but I'm hoping for a few, and that will help our temperature to rebound tomorrow mid to some upper teens. The next wave coming through then Thursday night carries on towards the Golden Horseshoe up into Cottage Country through Thursday into Friday. The winds pick up by Friday afternoon. You'll be doing much better back towards Windsor, Sarnia, Chatham, Kent, even London. You'll be seeing the clearing. It'll take into Friday a little later in the day before we see it elsewhere, and still those winds will be strong, so not feeling quite as pleasant. And this is what's coming into Saturday. Yeah. A ridge of high pressure is moving in, but it looks like there's going to be a bit of a battle zone with this trough that'll be coming in from the north. And because of that, Saturday could still have a few scattered showers, or north where the cooler air is, some scattered flurries. Talking about those winds, they at least ease up for us on Thursday. That's why it's going to feel a little bit better after some morning fog where visibility could be reduced quite a bit. We get this band moving through, and then the next one comes into Friday where we could see another, say, 10, maybe 15 millimeters through that one. Overnight temperatures stay milder in the southwest, nearly steady for us around the Golden Horseshoe. Looking better Thursday afternoon, wet and breezy Friday, and Saturday, you see why I say Sunday's probably the better day of the weekend, Kelda.
Thanks so much, Colette. That's our show for you tonight. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.